Hey, Tony here.
Shari here.
Um, we wanted to talk to you today about natural sweeteners. Some of them are going to come to mind for you right away, like, of course, honey. Um, you, is all over in the wild. Um, but some may not come to mind right away. For example, sorghum is believed to be the first plant that was cultivated by humans. And you use sorghum to make molasses. And I don't know if you've had molasses, but molasses can be sweet. Um, there's a couple of different types of sorghum. One that's mainly used for humans, but there's also one that they sometimes call Milo, which is also sweet, um, but is used for cattle feed. Um, and then there's all the fruit things, apples, berries, raspberries, blackberries, and there's wild strawberries and blueberries. In fact, we just picked up a couple of more raspberry bushes today that we'll be getting in the ground today or tomorrow. But along with that, what you're probably most familiar with is granulated sugar, which comes from sugar cane, which is a grass. Like sorghum is also a grass. Um, and it's been cultivated by humans for a long, long time as well. Um, but processed sugar, like granulated sugar, isn't really your healthiest option. Um, and what we're going to be doing today, and it looks like the water's getting hot, is making liquid stevia. Now, stevia is a plant. A lot of our sweeteners or sweet plants, you got to be real precise on that, um, are from tropical areas, like sugar cane grows in Florida, the islands in the Caribbean, places like that. It needs to be warm throughout the year. Um, the stevia plant originally grew and still does grow wild in South America, and in some places in Central America, like Belize. I believe they have stevia there too. And the stevia plant is extremely sweet. In fact, if you use too much, then it kind of has a very bitter flavor to it because it just overwhelms the sensors in your tongue. Um, to give you an idea, stevia is 1,000 times sweeter than granulated sugar. So, Shari, where did you give me the steak knife? So this is kind of a big knife, so this isn't really the knife that I had in mind, but if you were going to put powdered stevia into a big glass of tea, you would only get enough to go onto the tip of this knife, the very tip. So very, very small amount. But we're making liquid stevia with the water. Stevia doesn't like to dissolve into water readily. So when you heat it up, then it will do that. And, okay, Shari, keep him company while I'm...
And what he's trying to say, when you pour the stevia in there into the water, you gotta stir it until it's dissolved. Excuse me. And once it's dissolved, we gotta let it cool down a little bit while it's in the pan. And then we're going to use this little thing, syringe, to put them in 3 different types of bottles here. We've got the green medicine type bottles, then we've got the amber glass dropper type bottles, and then we have the little
So the green ones are 4 ounce, and the little amber ones with the droppers in them are 1 ounce.
and these little white squeezable dropper ones are like half an ounce. And we're going to be filling at least one of each with some of that, with the liquid stevia. Once it cools down,
let that heat up a little bit more actually, and get it dissolved in there a little bit better. But when the drops are made, well, first of all, stevia can be used as a replacement for sugar in most things, especially juices, making homemade applesauce or apple butter, pear butter, things like that. But for things that require yeast, like baking bread, yeast eats sugar, granulated sugar, but it doesn't eat stevia. And when yeast eats the sugar, it produces carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide is what makes your bread rise. So baking cakes, breads, things like that, you still need to use some sugar. There are some ways to do that. You can do a 50-50 blend of things, but it all works out good in the end. There's just some little tricks to that, but we like to have this. Well, first of all, I'm diabetic, so I can't have all the sugar, but stevia doesn't act on your body in the same way that sugar does. And I don't know if anybody ever talked to you about it before, but granulated sugar itself is addictive to the human body. And this is the way that you can tell that. If you have a candy bar or anything that's loaded with sugar, you'll feel good for about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes, and then you'll get extremely hungry. That's because the body went for the immediate rush of calories and fuel, but it doesn't stay long. So your brain gets tricked into thinking that it has to have more food. So if you have a snack late at night and it's a sweet snack, you're not going to sleep very well, and you may get up and have more food. So instead of doing something like that, go for the sugars that are in fruit, like an apple, something of that nature, and it's a lot better for you that way.
bananas also work.
Yeah, because the granulated sugar is really kind of an empty calorie. Now, everything that you eat, your body processes into sugars so that it can switch it over to burn in the human body, in the cells themselves. All right. So, but it has to change things in your body from a single sugar, which single chain sugar, which granulated sugar is, to down to that single chain sugar. Some of them are 3 or 4 molecules chained together, sugar molecules. For example, a carrot has sugar in it, and even if you eat a steak, your body's going to switch that over to a sugar because that's the only thing that it can burn. So when you give it granulated sugar, it gets that immediate thing, and then it thinks it needs more, but it doesn't really need more. It thinks that you're starving, but you're not. And that's how it can be addictive. So, you know, I'm sure there are some people that'll go, oh, you're don't get addicted to sugar. Well, your mind thinks that you need more, and drives you to get more. So technically, you are getting addicted to sugar. Uh, so we tried to go for a healthier option. I know it doesn't exactly look like that, but but we do, and so we're making the liquid stevia so that we can take the stevia with us on the go. So liquid stevia, if you're having a cup of coffee or a big glass of tea, you use 5 or 6 drops, depending on how sweet you want it to be. If you use too much, once again, it's going to kind of taste bitter and not be all that pleasant. But otherwise, it is rather pleasant. I mean, I personally can't tell that much of a difference between this and...
Still pretty warm.
Yeah, it is. Between this and granulated sugar. The granulated sugar that you get, the C&H, is very processed. It's been bleached. There's been a chemical process through that. There's a lot of reasons why it isn't all that healthy. When you have brown sugar comes from sometimes sugar cane, like the light brown sugar, sometimes sugar beets. And beets have been grown around the world for a long time for their sugar content. There's a particular type of beet that is really high in sugar, and you can make molasses or brown sugar out of that as well.
Matter of fact, I think they call it sugar beets, don't they?
Yes, yep, and the sorghum. So there's a lot of different options out there. You want to take a look at them. Now, because of the crave on this, there's also a lot of companies that are making things like xylitol. Xylitol started off in World War II because of the war, sugar was at a premium. There was a big shortage of sugar, and they were trying to figure out ways that they could provide the sugar to people. So Coca-Cola could keep making Coca-Cola, stuff like that. So they chemically, in a laboratory, made xylitol, which is a synthetic compound that mimics sugar. But once again, yeast doesn't work on it, so you have some problems trying to use that. And there are also companies that if you go to get liquid stevia in the store, or the packets that you might see, a lot of times what they're doing is using a little bit of stevia and then other products like xylitol in that packet, or even processed sugar, because they just want the stevia name. Because you don't use very much stevia, and because they have to extract that from a plant, it's a natural thing. It's expensive to buy, and by the way, you can get your powdered stevia from health food stores. You can purchase it online through Walmart, things like that. But what I'm trying to say is be wary, because it's not always 100% stevia. There's every time there's something that's popular or just good for you, there's somebody that wants to exploit that and make some money. So you have to take a look at that. Let's fill one of the glass bottles. You can talk about how you like to use sugar and stevia.
Yeah, well, he fills this glass bottle with some of the liquid stevia we just made. I like to use sugars in my baking, but I also like to use stevia in my drinks. I use a little bit of it in my coffee or my teas. I'll use some in Like my morning, sometimes I'll have a breakfast smoothie. And instead of using sugar or creamer, I'll use a little bit of the stevia.
Oh yeah, stevia is a great option for smoothies.
And I'll also like use half a banana or like 5 or 6 strawberries or 6 or 7 blueberries and either watermelon or cantaloupe. And
Cantaloupe tonight.
Dad's got the car. Anyway, um, they and we'll mix it all together. Or sometimes I'll even use a little bit of kale and spinach. I'll put greens in there. Just all over healthy smoothie. I call them breakfast smoothies, but they're actually health smoothies because
Yeah,
they are
I
healthy.
kind of like them in as a midday snack type item also. And what we're doing here is we're got some filtered, purified water, and it's just water and the stevia. Measure the stevia out carefully. There's some recipes online for that, but it's really pretty simple. You want to bring the water up to a boiling point so that you sterilize everything and so that the stevia breaks down in the water real well. And these are 4 ounce. This glass one is 4 ounce, or the plastic one is 4 ounce. We also have a business, Ottawahi Essential Oils. So I have the containers for the products that I make with that. And liquid stevia is one of those products. I'm not trying to promote my own thing here right now. I'm just saying why I have the bottles. So we're just putting it into the containers so that we can take it with us in our pocket and sweeten our things at our favorite restaurant or wherever. And you can you can use liquid stevia or powdered stevia for gallons of iced tea for sweet tea, and you can avoid the sugars. So thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions about sugar